Hey, this is Paul Evans, your free online business coach. 0 offers because everybody knows the rules. Couple of questions today. Actually 3, but the third one is, can we share all of this? Absolutely share away, like it, ask questions, the whole 9 yards, whatever you want to do. No problem. Now, don't necessarily take my frameworks and things like that and steal it, but as far as sharing it, that's fine. And that's not what's being said here. So this is from Cassandra. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It says, I trust you and yours are keeping safe, sane, and sanitized. I like that. Safe, sane, and sanitized in the current pandemic. We absolutely are. Hope you are as well, and your family and friends. Just to say thank you for witty, brilliant coaching and keeping us well. Definitely kept me going. I really appreciate especially the sense of humor and what I would call the fundamental. FUN is all caps, DA is small, and mental all caps. So fund and mental. Love that. I mean, this guy is fantastic already. Extra special thanks for the Manualist Volume 2. I have to tell you, it was very timely. It's like the proverbial kick up my behind that I needed. See, I'd started to look into it again, found myself procrastinating, and no, I can't use dialysis as an excuse. It was more a case of employee versus entrepreneur mindset syndrome. Actually, I wrote down your extremely useful advice. I may not have that, and so here's my twist as a reminder to have no excuse. This is pretty amazing. I run across this very rarely, but occasionally somebody steps out like a Sunday that says, I don't have an excuse. Doesn't matter about my health. Sue Painter, one of my best friends, actually is we're all in a coaching group together that I host, and she had a heart attack about 5 years ago. Had a heart attack that morning. Our coaching session was at 3. She logged into Zoom from her hospital bed. It's one of my favorite stories because there were tons of healthy people who just didn't make it a priority. Sue was hot. And so Cassandra says, listen, doesn't matter if I'm on dialysis or not. There's no excuse. My excuse that I was making, I might have been using dialysis for a while as an excuse, but the real excuse I was making is that I wasn't able to move from being an employee to an entrepreneur. We're going to come back to that in question number 2 here in a bit. Which brings me to 2 questions, and the first was, can we share everything? That absolutely do that. Secondly, do you have, firstly, I may have missed it, but do you have a strategy for attracting an audience on LinkedIn? Do you have a strategy for attracting an audience? So when I think about audience, I think about 2 things. Number one is what you're talking about is can I attract them? Can I put out enough content and have enough communication that I'm very attractional on LinkedIn? And I would say that process really comes down to your content, your relevance with that content, that people self-identify and know it's for them, and they're constantly seeing you in their stream, right? So I think that's a big piece of that. The other thing is that you're also on other people's streams, on their posts, you're making comments, you're getting involved, you're basically showcasing your brand, your personality, things along those lines on the, I don't know even know what they call it on LinkedIn, but on the stream of LinkedIn, that when your name comes up, people are like, oh, I need to listen to what's being said there. However, I do want to talk too about being attractional through maybe a little bit more of a traditional route with an untraditional twist. And that is, first of all, you want to make sure that you're building your connections, but build those very wisely. Who do you need to be connected to? Who is going to be able to be someone who you feel like long-term you're going to be able to have a relationship with, and you may or may not bring each other business. You may actually be bringing each other wisdom or insight, or may end up doing webinars, podcasts together, things along those lines. So think about the value of the connection. Early on, I didn't really do that. So I built out some connections, but a lot of them are not in alignment with what I do and things along those lines. So a little bit of a challenge on that front. So you're going to build that connection. Secondly, you're going to have a conversation. And we've all had a connection, and then immediately we get a message, hey, I'm putting on a free webinar. Check out my wisdom over here. I'm one of the top experts. Actually, I'm a thought leader. And you're just like, come on now. I thought you wanted to connect. I didn't know you were trying to immediately out of the gate sell something. Have a conversation, learn about people. Those who come on and say, hey, can we have a quick conversation? I want to learn more about what you do. I've got a lot of people in my network that I believe would benefit from knowing what you do. Let's have a quick 5-minute call, discuss our backgrounds, our strengths, what we think we can bring to the table, and how we can serve each other. Now, that's a conversation to me, even with a stranger. It's not, hey, I'm tossing this thing out here for you so that you'll come back to me and hopefully spend some money. Just buy an ad. Come on. It's dumb. So you want to have the conversation, but not only are you going to have the conversation like in the private message area, you're going to have a conversation on their post. I mean, you could really manage, something like LinkedIn. If you were to make, as often's been taught, you see Russell Brunson talking about this a lot right now, but originally came from Chet Holmes on the Ultimate Sales Machine, and that is your Dream 100. So if you were to make your Dream 100 on LinkedIn, these are the people that you're going to get to actually know and manage a relationship with, because it'll be mutually beneficial. Not just they've got the largest amount of connections or followers, but it's going to be mutual beneficial and you can actually get to know them. Man, that'd be a great list to have, and then manage those 100 relationships. Then every year, probably cut about 10 or 15% of those and get some that are upstream a little bit more and a little bit stronger. Right? And then finally, there is the conversion aspect. But instead of converting people like, hey, I've got this thing for you, I've got this thing for your people. So if you had your Dream 100 going and you built these relationships and it was a strong network and you trusted each other, then when you go to him or her and say, look, I've got this thing, I'm doing this webinar, I really think it'd be great for your people. What do you think? Now, they may end up thinking it's great for them as well. Perfect. But if it's great for their people, then now you've got access to an audience. You're not actually, when you do that, you're not attracting one person at a time. You're attracting an audience at a time, because you can get in front of all of their people. So those are my thoughts on that. Hopefully that is helpful. Feel free for any follow-up. The next question, as I hit my little table here, is from Paul Smith. He says, Paul, I have a curiosity. Are you offering free online coaching because God put it on your heart? I've been following you kind of casually, and I really appreciate your witness. First of all, I appreciate that because, I mentioned faith some. I mentioned ministry probably more than anything. I spent about 30 years in ministry. I still teach every Sunday at church, stuff like that. Still do some orphan care work. I spent about 8 years traveling the world, building orphanages, and this is even while I was running my businesses and all those kind of things. So I'm going to do another episode on what happens if you can't focus, if you feel like you're going to do 50 different things. I mean, that's where my life's been most of the time. So we'll dive into that. However, as far as why I'm doing this, I'm just going to be super honest. There was nothing on my heart to do it. It was more of, number one, folks are going broke, and they're going broke online for two reasons. Number one, they're getting fooled. They're getting fooled by the marketing. That's why I say 0 offers. You're not going to get fooled by my marketing. I'm not selling you anything. Everybody knows the game. The truth is that if we'll take the blinders off, we know it's a game being played. There's really, of the big timers, I got to be careful with this because this is going to sound bad, but I can only think of a handful of guys that I actually trust, that I'm like, they're really doing it to help people. I think a lot of folks are doing it for profit. Now, this doesn't mean their products are bad, but their motive is different than most of the people's motive who watch these videos. So there you have it on that part. So folks are going broke. Number one, they're getting fooled. Number two, they're being foolish. And I want to be gentle with this because it really ties into number 4, but we'll get to that in a minute, is that a lot of people try to believe and create the belief that this time is going to be different. If you've got a pattern of not completing things, you've got a pattern of not following through, you've got a pattern of incompletes, you've got a pattern of not making it to the finish line, you've got a pattern of buying stuff and sitting it on your computer, this next product's probably not going to be it either. Because you don't have a product problem, you've got a pattern problem. You've got a person problem. And so I figured if people are looking for answers that they're not going to do anyway, I might as well do it. I might as well supply free answers, because if you're just going to procrastinate and not do it, why don't I give you the answer for free and then you can still not do it? I know that sounds like a bad attitude, but literally, most people don't do the work. Most people are not fired up. Most people are not working. Most people are not focused. Most people are not going through the program. Most people, if they've got coaching, are not asking the questions. And most people, by far, the majority of people in even a coaching program, when they get worn out, they blame the coach. They don't even blame their lack of activity. So I don't have to take any blame because it ain't my fault. You didn't pay me for anything. You have to get out there and do the work yourself. All right, so that's number one. Hit these next two pretty quick. Number two is I got 20 years of experience online. And I know what works, what doesn't work. Now, I may not be newfangled. I'm not over there on TikTok. I might should be, but I'm not looking for the quick buck, and I'm just not going to be over there with dance moves, and I'm sure it's more than that. But the bottom line is, I know what's successful. Now, you can complicate it if you want to, and you can build out a 50-stage funnel if you want, but none of that's actually necessary. That's why I've been covering the Manualist. And it's not that I've always done that. I've done a lot of automated stuff. But the Manualist is something that I think everybody can do because your technology is not going to get in the way. Well, the only thing that's going to get in the way is this business right here. This business is getting in the way. So 20 years of experience online. Let's see, I'm 51. So I've got 30 years of experience, 31 years of experience in business. I opened my first business at age 20. So I just think that, you ought to be asking more questions than y'all are. You don't have to. I think it's weird that you would pay $2,000 for a product that you're not going to complete and then hide in a Facebook group that goes with said product and never ask a question. And you're paying for it. And you can get a lot of answers over here for free. And really, we just get a handful of questions a week. It's super bizarre. That's not cutting anybody down. I just think it's weird. All right, so number three, have to look under my glasses. Offline, I'm working with companies that do like $10 million or more a year in revenue. So it's not like I'm over here going, hey, please buy my $1,000 product, my $2,000 product, join my $50 a month website. I don't really have any intentions of doing that right now, that piece, the online piece right now, because I'm working my own gig and what I do and a company that I started back in 2004. All right, so then, and this is not like online businesses doing 10 million or more. This is brick and mortar. And then number four, this is it. Final one is that I'm a skeptic. I'm a skeptic when it comes to people doing what they need to do to get the work done. It's the reason there's so many diet books. It's the reason there's so many how to make money products. It's the reason there's so many products out there, telling you that if you do X, Y, and Z, you're gonna make it. If you go to the bookstore and you walk into the business section or the gardening section or the food section or the exercise section, there's not just one book. There's not. There's hundreds of books in each section because people don't complete stuff. They don't get to the finish line. And so they buy the next thing thinking that's going to be it. And the main reason I believe is what was mentioned earlier is that people have a hard time separating being an employee from being an entrepreneur. Like I said, in the employee entrepreneur answer is that most people want to have this so-called freedom that they believe comes with entrepreneurship, but they want none of the risk. They want the security of being an employee. And if you're going to do business online, you just got to give up the security or keep your gig, keep your offline gig and build it on the side. That's why side hustle is so popular. I think that's the perfect idea. Until you've replaced your income, I wouldn't quit my job. But that's me, because that doesn't sound like success. Most people are kind of like, man, we're going to get out there, we're going to sell it all. This is the only way. I've got to jump in the deep end in order to make it. Okay. Anyway, those are the questions and answers. Hope none of those last answers were too discouraging. But as always, zero offers. Everybody knows the game. Success is not an accident. Be blessed.